I think a pretty good definition of extremism is an act or a position when it comes to ideology or political acts that is outside of the standard of society.
Oh.
That's also viewed as immoral.
Yeah, it's a good general term, but when you're talking about religion, I mean, even when you're talking about atheism, like I'm an anti-theist, I suppose technically that makes me an extremist within the general atheist movement, but it's hard to tell. I mean, how many atheists are not anti-theist? We don't really have raw numbers on that.
I only learned about anti-theism doing research more recently for this show. And can you explain to us what it is, please, Spacefish?
Sorry, what are you looking for?
What's an anti-theist?
Anti-theist, someone who actively believes that religion, theism in general, is harmful to society, to people.
Okay, well, definitely an anti-theist then. Religion is harmful to society, right? There's no two ways about it. That had at many points right now is having negative impacts all over the world, right?
We can certainly point to a lot of it, but there is a massive resurgence of apologetics trying to defend religion as a positive thing for humanity. I have lots of fun discussions about that one.
Yeah, like the video that was posted to Our Atheism yesterday, it's a little discussion that Hitch was in, and like all the other people were talking about how like all these like religious charities and all that stuff. But I mean, so like for good people to do good things, like good people do good things, but for good people to do evil things, religion. So I mean, whether or not those religious charities exist, I mean, those charities would exist if there were no religion. It would just be the same people doing it under a different name. Like, they'd be doing it because it's good, not because they're scared of hell.
Right, I mean, it's easy to... I mean, not easy, but it's very possible to define a moral good, or a good moral behavior, without religion. And I think that's why I completely agree that, you know, we'd still have people donating to different causes because they're good for society.
I mean, I'm not religious, and I still go and give blood to the Red Cross. Like, I don't need the threat of hell to make me help my fellow man. It's just something that I think everyone should do at least once. So I mean, I'll donate what I can, I'll do what I can, but I'll do it because it's the right thing to do.
A counter-argument we will encounter on occasion... Great, I just lost my train of thought. I guess I'll have to come back to that one.
Yeah, I want to see where you're going with that.
The ultimate point of atheism, or anti-theism, is to demonstrate its role as extremism within the atheist movement. I mean, Sam Harris doesn't necessarily argue that religion is inherently bad for us. He simply argues that the way we come about our religious beliefs kind of undermines our rational minds. So that's a bad thing.
Well,
but he isn't against religion itself as a whole.
Well, personally, I wouldn't label atheism as something you could be extreme about. Sure, you can be an atheist and an extremist, but atheism itself isn't an ideology, so you can't really... There's nothing to be extreme about.
Right.
You can be an atheist and an extremist when it comes to, for instance, communism, but that you're not motivated by atheism itself.
No one has ever killed anyone in the name of no God.
Exactly.
Precisely.
And the way that I'd like to visualize that is if you have a scale, right? So a belief in God, you can have a different scale of how much you believe. You could go up to, let's say, like a 10 for a really religious person, and then an atheist is 0, right? 0 belief in God. So you can't go underneath 0. This is not a two-sided scale.
It makes atheism the extreme of from the opposite end of absolute belief.
Well, I mean, if we define extremism as like distance from the social norms, then we are extremists, at least in this country. Like,
Not
because
so much anymore.
I mean, yeah, our numbers are growing, but we're still far outside the social norm.
Yeah.
We might be outside of the social norm, but we aren't backing up any ideological position or committing any political acts that's deemed immoral by society as a whole.
Well, that I think also could be slightly arguable in that we're attempting to promote what we call rational thought. Now, I happen to believe that we are promoting rational thought. We're saying we don't believe because we have rational reasons to doubt. We don't believe because we don't accept the evidence that we've been presented in order to believe in gods. That in itself is an ideology of sorts. It says, question what you know. If you don't have a really good reason to believe what you think you know, why do you believe it?
And even when you have good reasons, continually reevaluating why you have those reasons is very important. That's how scientific advancement happens, right?
Exactly. And in that regard, it can be suggested that atheism is a movement toward rationality. I mean, the only thing that we're really defining ourselves as is that we don't believe. Our reasons for why we don't believe can be as varied as we are. But you will find a very common denominator here that we don't believe because we've actually looked at it. We've decided that our reasons weren't good enough.
Well, personally, I'd categorize that as a goal of the new atheism movement, not a goal of atheism itself.
Yeah, I'd accept that.
Yeah.
Very good. Give me 30 seconds, guys. I'll be right back.
Go to commercial.
Well, okay.
Hey, I've got this swampland in Florida. I'd love to sell somebody. Wrong kind of commercial. Never mind. Sorry.
Yeah. Got property. Just in the middle of nowhere. If you would like to move to rural South Georgia, let me know.
I'll let you know.
Like, the worst part about this is, like, I escaped to Athens, Georgia, UGA, and college towns are, like, the only oases in the Bible Belt, really.
Yep.
So it's like I escaped there, and then, like, circumstances forced me back, and it's like, it's rough.
That's what happened to me in New York. I was in the middle of college, was about to enter my junior year, and my mother decided that she wasn't going to countenance any more of my sinful ways and cut my funding. Rather than move back with them, however, I moved out and attempted to build a life on my own anyway.
Yeah, like, I did that. I moved to Fayetteville. It's a suburb of Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
And, but then, like, my engine blew in my car, and no money to back me up, really, because I had just gotten there, and I hadn't had time to really get situated. So,
yeah.
I mean, I really had no other options.
It was easier to do 20 years ago than it is today. I understand that.
So, 20 years old, back with the parents.
You're only 20. That's not bad. Come on, there's like 35-year-olds and, you know, people who are older still living with their parents. And there are some societies where that's completely normal, so nothing wrong with that.
We're not in India.
Honestly, I am on the edge of needing to do that. I'm just finding ways to refuse to do that, and I'm 40.
Yeah, it's rough.
While we're on the subject of getting yourself kicked out of your home and losing financial funding, we might want to promote atheist havens on Reddit for people who have gotten themselves kicked out of their homes because of religion.
As soon as I win the lottery.
I can't even fathom how a parent would want to kick someone out.
I mean, it's the extent of the delusion. I mean, the Bible, in some parts, speaks explicitly against relationships with people of different religions or of no religion, because it's unequally yoked is how it's said when they're talking about marriage outside the religion. I mean, it's a similar relationship to that family as well. I mean, cut off the hand that offends you. Could be
If your
used
child curses
metaphorically.
you, you shall stone him.
So,
Of course, that's Leviticus. The more modern phrasing is, if a man loves me and forsakes not his family, he is not one of us.
so
We
like,
have a new caller in the line.
Yeah, sorry. So, Emmanuel sent me a message on Reddit asking if she could, he or she, I'm not sure, it's pink, so I want to see. Are you on the line, Emmanuel? We can't hear you if you're... Hello?
Lurking works too.
Oh, okay, so we got some chat happening. There's lots of Emmanuel. Yo, there's like this... Look up Emmanuel, L-E. It's like a super common French name. And it's would not surprise me that someone somewhere would name their girl Emmanuel without the L-E at a, like, Web 2.0 it sort of thing, you know what I mean? No offense
You got a bunch
intended,
of
by the way.
foreigners, Emmanuel. Don't take it personally.
No, it's not. Okay, well. Alright, so back on. I'm just going to read my opening statement that I wrote. It's not great, and actually, I didn't write all of it. Some of it's from the Joe Rogan board. I stole a little bit. I thought it was very nice. And then Spacefish also has a little opening statement. Are you going to want to read it, or give us a little outline after?
I'll let you go first.
Okay. So, I just want to say that history isn't what we've been told it is, right? It keeps evolving. And it's not what you think it is, it's not what I think it is. Reality is so broad. But we can still understand what reality is if we're honest and open to look for the truth, right? Which I believe it's also one of the advances of science, is to search for the truth. But this falls apart if your convictions aren't appropriate to valid evidence. So if you're not concerned with the truth and validating the evidence, that becomes dangerous, right? And that's the definition of faith, is not looking at the evidence. It's just relentlessly applying assumptions to reality that may or may not be true. Why, as a human being, would you want to go with that view of reality where you don't care what the truth is? And that's what boggles my mind, is that people just don't care what it is. And this is, looking at extremism, you know, this is where I think extremism is when the dogma overrides, like, your care. I'm not sure if I'm using dogma properly, but if your system of beliefs overrides your search for the truth, that's automatically negatively impacting society. And that's why I think all religion actions are bad. I mean, I live in Canada, and there's not a huge religious problem, but a few months ago, or it might have been last year, like, there's these ascetic Jews who told the gym that they had to cover their windows because they didn't want the boys to see the women working out. Like, that's negatively impacting my society, I'm sorry. And that really, really angered me. And that's when I started thinking, like, you know, I thought this didn't really impact Canada, and then I found out, oh shit, it's in my frickin' backyard, like about a few kilometers away. That's crazy. And that's why now I want to try to look for answers and hopefully maybe, you know, learn more for myself about how religion impacts me every day, like positively or negatively, and seeing how it impacts other people to get the message out there that, yeah, that it has a lot of negative impacts. And that's my rant. Okay.
yeah, and Emmanuel down there in the chat, if you can see it, is talking about, like, the Muslim women who were complaining about the roller coaster ride, saying that they couldn't wear their headscarves the other day, and they're suing the park over it. I mean, it's a safety issue. They say you can't wear anything on your head on the ride.
It's gonna fly away, it's gonna get on the track, and it's
Like,
written there for a reason. Like, the rule's a rule. Why are you trying to fuck with it?
because religious belief